Well, thanks guys for coming. As you can see on the screen, we do this every single month. This month's specialty is social media best practices as it revolves around talent specifically. And there's a couple things that we're going to talk about here. The first being, what is social media? Why you should use social, wow, that was quick. Why you should use social media, how to best use social media, and then the services to focus on again as talent rather than an overall station strategy. So, before we actually get into that, some reasons why this is important, why we're doing this discussion. According to the Washington Post, 87% of American adults use the internet, which actually seemed low to me. But that being said, this next one is from a Pew Internet survey, and that's actually 7 months old, but 73% of those people up there, online adults 18 plus, use social media, excuse me. And then of those online Americans who use social networks, they spend an average of 3.2 hours every single day on them. So, not all at once necessarily, but that's a big time investment, and if we're not there, that's very sad. So what's that all mean? That means that more than 150 million adults in the United States spend about 3.2 hours every single day with some form of social media, probably several forms. And if you think about your little forced email signatures that we all have to use, well, that comes out to about 64% of Clear Channel's monthly adult listeners are spending 3.2 hours a day with social media. So that's a lot of people, and that's why we're doing this. So what is social media? Let's do the silly normal Merriam-Webster definition, which is forms of electronic communication through which users create online communities to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content. That sounds like garbage to me. So the easiest way to think about it is, which way is the communication? Traditional media like radio, TV, print, etc. is one way. The user's passive, they take in all the information, they can't contribute back. Social media is two ways. The user is an active participant, or at least has the ability to be an active participant in the discussion, the exchange of ideas and information. So, as a media outlet and as a talent, what is your goal when you're using social media? Well, that goal is to strengthen the bond between our brands and you, the talent, and then each individual listener you're talking to. The secondary goal is to get people to the website. I know historically we've thought, oh, this is great, it's a new way for me to get people to my webpage. That still exists, and that's a big part of it, but it's secondary, and this is critical, never at the expense of forming that relationship and strengthening that relationship with your audience. So why should you use social media? Well, people that listen to the radio form tighter emotional bonds with their talent compared to TV and columnists, etc. There's been all sorts of studies that have done, Edison Research, our own Clear Channel things we've done, and that's just it's just kind of a fact. So we already have that advantage from a starting point. So social media should be used to strengthen that bond. Radio listeners and social media users, luckily, already overlap each other. A recent Scarborough study found that 84% of millennial, online, loyal country radio listeners used Facebook in the last month. And again, I thought that was pretty low, but that's still a pretty big percentage. So how should we best use social media? Socially. I know that sounds kind of stupid, but really it's one of those things that we forget because we hear social media so much that the word stops meaning anything. So the reason why I've made that so big is because a lot of us have started using social media just as a bullhorn to tell people, hey, listen to our station, come to our event, sign up for this contest. And if you treat social media just as a bullhorn, you're going to be doomed, because guess what? These people create their own little worlds within whatever social media they do. They've invited you into it, and guess what? The second that they start feeling like you're intruding on their presence, they can unlike, they can hide, they can do all that stuff, and guess what? They will. It takes that long. So two main things to remember while you're doing posting on social media: include some form of a call to action. Make them an active, invite them to participate. That's what's going to make them feel closer to you. Like the simplest way is ask them their opinion on what you're posting. You do want to avoid self-serving calls to action like this post if you think KFBK is awesome. That comes across as a bullhorn sort of thing. And the other thing, and I can't emphasize this enough, is really to speak as one human being. You're a talent, one human being, to a single solitary friend. If you're using the station Facebook or Twitter, make sure to sign your name at the end, whether it's the initials or whatever. You want to be a human being talking with another human being. That's how you use social media in your own lives. That's how our listeners are using social media. You're not speaking to a crowd, so much like people listen to the radio solo in their cars or at their desk or whatever, you know, they don't all meet up and surround a screen at the library to all read your social media posts. It's one person. So just like when you're on the air, you don't want to say things like, hey, everybody, and y'all are going to blah, 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 blah. No, it's not y'all. There's one person. There's one person. So, and then the other thing is if somebody comments on your Facebook post, @replies you on Twitter, etc., engage, respond, you know. Nothing's worse than, you know, if you ask somebody their opinion on something and they give it to you and then you just sit there and then they don't, it's not really an exchange of ideas at that point. So make sure that you do respond. Not only is it going to deepen your relationship with them, but also those people that don't actively participate. They're going to see that conversation because it's out there in public. So it's going to create that idea like, oh, this station, this jock, whoever it is, really does identify with me, my sorts of people, et cetera, and it's got that double sort of whammy to it. So moving along.
Okay, before you do that, but remember, everything you say in public can and will be used against you in a court of law. So that, and I'll give you a great example. I fire Pacey tomorrow. Okay, sorry, you're fired, you're out. We get a bunch of people right on our Facebook page, I can't believe you fired Pacey, what happened? That's the kind of stuff let your managers know about, don't respond to, and you know what I'm talking about. Don't go on there by yourself and say whatever you say, because in most cases, you have no idea why I fired Pacey. And so that incident that you just stepped in the middle of could get you in trouble, could get the station in trouble, and create a lot more problems than it's worth. So use your best judgment on everything. But when it comes to inside station business and personnel matters and other things, don't do anything. Let your managers know it's up there and stay away from it. Let them make that decision.
Would you still tell them if it said thank God they fired Casey?
Well, I would tell them everything. But in normal
That's probably what you get.
Yeah.
So.
But in normal cases, like if we fired Al, I wouldn't want to get involved with that. You people don't understand.
Okay, so as we jump cut to this next section here real quick, because Ken isn't mic'd right now, so what we just jump cut to is, yes, if there are very sensitive matters when it comes to personnel, et cetera, you're going to want to talk to your manager before you respond to something. And the general rule of thumb is, if you're not sure, if you feel uncomfortable, talk to your manager. That being said, this is one of my favorite recent examples of a great social media post that has nothing to do with our station website. It's all about creating the bond. And it's from JJ over Memorial Day weekend. He literally just wrote, I'm finally buying a grill after the show tonight, gas or charcoal. And all these people had all these opinions. And not only that, but he replied here later and he said, you know what, he told them what he did. He bought a cheapo charcoal grill and whatever. And I wish I would have had time to do this later because the last couple days he's actually posted pictures of, in separate posts, of the actual charcoal grill, the hot dogs he made over Memorial Day. So all these people, JJ invited him into his house. They were at a cookout. They were at a Memorial Day cookout via social media. That sort of thing is going to bring those listeners closer to you. And I love that. Another person who's a superstar at doing social media is Amy Lewis. I know you can't really see this from where you are sitting, but basically in a news setting, there was the story about how Joe Biden said that the 11 million illegal immigrants that were currently in the country, they're already Americans. There's a little bit more on there, but basically, what are your thoughts? And naturally, our KFBK audience had plenty to say about it. I couldn't fit it all on the screen, but again, she was able to add her pieces in here without ever losing her journalistic credibility as an anchor reporter. There's no opinions from her, but there are things like one guy in here said, "Oh, I'm tired of hearing about it. Let's all go out to a restaurant and have some fun." And then she, that's when she stuck her head in and said things like, "Oh, well, which restaurant are you talking about? Are you paying?" That sort of thing. That humanizes her, but she's still a respected news source. So for the KFBK people that are watching this later on a video that aren't Mike. That's the sort of thing that you can use social media, be a human being without losing that gravitas, without losing that news source credibility. And then another guy, newer guy, he's at the back of the room right here, who is a great guy at social media, is Pacey. And I wanted to use this example because one thing that Pacey is good at, yeah, he just got fired too. But Pacey's able, he does a really good job of bringing people back to the website as well as doing the social part. You'll see he replied here. This is a post about Will Smith's kids potentially getting taken away by Child Protective Services because of a sketchy photo, we'll say, that was taken with Willow, who's 13, and a 20-year-old. And the day he posted this, the numbers were through the roof just on this particular story. But the other thing about Pacey is he follows up. This isn't the last time we heard about this, and this is another great way to interact with your people and have the dual purpose of getting them back to your website. So I was a big fan of that as well. And that leads us into following up. Integrate your content across all platforms. You got a microphone, use your microphone. You've got a page on the website, use that page on the website. Every single reporter on KFBK has their own little page. Very few of them use it. And then also social. A lot of reporters on KFBK actively use Twitter. It would be great if we could do all three. And the easiest example I could think of, let's pretend Amy James on B92.5 lived here in Sacramento. On the air, I was shopping in Arden Fair and I saw the weirdest shoes. I took a picture of them, posted it on my webpage, go to Facebook, and do you know what those red things are supposed to be? I would never buy these shoes because of those red things, but maybe you have a different opinion. Leave a comment. All three different angles at once, but all very natural as well. You do want to avoid cross-posting. When you do something on Twitter, it's going to be different than you do it on Facebook, even if it's the same content. This doesn't apply as much to KFBK and news stories because news is news is news. So a headline and a link is probably enough. But each site and service has a different set of rules and etiquette and things that'll get your posts pushed down or ignored and hidden. And the example I would use here is if you had a great TV spot that had no voiceover, but had a bunch of great visual and music and everything, you wouldn't use that audio on the radio to promote your station as well because it doesn't translate. Twitter is different than Facebook, is different than Pinterest, is different on and on and on and on. So since there are so many different services to use, which one should you focus on as a talent? Well, the big guy, as you know, is Facebook. 1.28 billion monthly active users, 900 million active users on mobile just alone. I believe, personally, that all talent should have their own Facebook page or profile. Profiles, I think, are more, you can use them more like a normal person. However, they're limited to 5,000 friends. Now, do not mistake having your own Facebook profile as having, well, the example I can think of is Pat Walsh should have his own Facebook profile.
No,
He shouldn't have the Pat Walsh Show Facebook page. But that being said, you should also not forget to use your station's Facebook page as well. The easiest way to do that is to post something as a Facebook on the station Facebook page, and you can comment as yourself. That way, both of them are right there. Twitter, that's another big one. It has an active 300 million users right now, so that's almost the population of the United States. I realize not all of them are here, but it's a huge service. A lot of them use them, especially in the news world. We know how many different news stories have broken over Twitter. The reason Twitter is the biggest difference between Twitter and Facebook, it's real-time use. The most recent post is always at the top. There's no algorithm trying to figure out what you want to see. So you can use this a little bit more like you would over the air because basically when people sign into Twitter, what's at the top is going to be there. You don't have to worry about the way you word things as much other than it being under 140 characters. Many users, and this is a little bit different than Facebook, many users use Twitter, they only consume, they do not tweet, they do not participate. They just follow a bunch of people and that's what they do. So it's okay to have one-sided conversations a little bit on Twitter as opposed to Facebook. That being said, if somebody does respond to you, still reply to them, engage with them, talk with them, treat them like a friend. No, not undo. The one way that Twitter does organize things is through hashtags. They're the ones that invented it. Facebook has this too, but it's really, really prevalent on Twitter. And that's how you can read a bunch of different posts, again, in real time, but they're about one specific topic. The most recent one that I can think of is after the Santa Barbara shooting, females got together and used the hashtag #YesAllWomen to describe the different ways that they feel harassed or the things they have to put up with every single day of their life. And that's a way that you can do things by organization. You want to be careful with hashtags, though, because it's better to glop onto a hashtag than to create your own unless you really feel like you can move the needle there. That said, you can also you can glop onto the wrong hashtag, like somebody did during the Batman shootings a couple years ago. There was a store in the Midwest that just saw Aurora was trending, and they posted something like, "We see Aurora's trending. It must be because people are so excited about the new fall fashions we have at our store." They took a lot of guff for that. So you want to make sure that you're using hashtags correctly and respectfully. Oop, went too fast. There we go. So other ones, those are the two big ones, but the other ones, Pinterest, the user base is just as large as Twitter. High female usage, so if you're on a station that targets females specifically, it would behoove you to probably learn how to use it and active in it. I'm terrible at it, so I can't really help you there, but I know there are people. I know Jenny's used it before, so she'd be help. YouTube generally isn't thought of as social network, but we all have cameras in our pockets now with our phones. And there's also a very full commenting system. So you can also forge relationships on YouTube the same way you would with Facebook or Twitter. Google Plus is kind of an also-ran when it comes to Facebook. It's basically Facebook Lite, but there is an active user base of more than 100 million. So, and the users that are in Google Plus are very active. So if you have time, hey, great, go for it. Tumblr is more of a blogging tool, but Yahoo just bought them, so we might be seeing a lot more of Tumblr. If you do write blogs, this might be a good place to post a portion of what you write, link them back to the station. It also has a user base of more than 100 million. And then the last big one is Instagram. It's a lot smaller than most people think, but Facebook owns it. And it also is very easy to integrate it into Facebook and Twitter too, but it's mainly a photo app. And it uses the hashtag system as well. So to recap, social media is a new, supplemental, yet very vital way that we interact with our audience. Those two guys are interacting on it with their audience. Communication is two-way as opposed to one-way, and its purpose is to create and strengthen the bond between you and your listeners first and foremost. You should use social media because not only is it beneficial to the station you work for, but also makes you personally more valuable to your listeners because now you're their friends. It makes you more valuable to your sales pits. I know they're always looking for new people to sell endorsements for. And ultimately, if you can really create a big audience like that, it's going to make you more valuable to Clear Channel. So for more info, we're going to have these slides eventually posted on the drug. If you don't know what the drug is, we'll give you an email a little bit while ago. We've had a couple of other these that were a little lighter attended than this one, but also our presentations on copyright, best practices for using photos, and pretty much everything digital. And if you have any questions about anything digital, feel free to talk to Jenny. Chris Arena isn't here this week, but he will be back next week, myself or Amy.